to the Rethink podcast.
What episode number is it?
Corinthians episode number 2.
It's 210?
It's only been 2. I feel like we've been on this.
So we've been talking about the absence of Andrew. Okay.
Move on.
He's in the mountains, and we wish him well.
Do we, though?
I do, yeah. I wish him well.
He'll be here for a week and then gone again.
It'll be hard.
Anyway. Went bear hunting.
Yeah.
Struggling. But we have Levi back. So I guess that means he passed the test.
For at least week 1. We'll see.
Yeah, I liked what you did. I liked what you did for us. It was good. You came in not just as an expert consultant, which is our typical usage, but as a co-host. That's a big promo.
Oh, you gave him a co-host.
He jumped all the way up.
I love it when Jeff gives titles.
Yeah, co-host.
Hey, Stefan, out of curiosity.
You never see him coming. You know?
Stefan, out of curiosity, how were our ratings better because of Levi here last week, or were they the same? Or did they drop? Were they?
Well, there's a. It's been pinging at a house south of here.
Oh man,
Leah's just been watching it on repeat
over and over.
over and over. She can't get enough of it, really. She actually has
ratings were through the roof.
Yeah.
How many people are watching this on average?
Too many to count.
He meant too many to count. Love you, Roger.
Well, we're glad to have Levi back, and he's done a lot of work in prepping the study guide that we're using for the Corinthians series. Which, by the way, I am excited. That has been, I think, a big part of the interest level this past week. You know, because it's across the board, many opportunities to engage in what we're studying. So people are coming a little more prepared, a little more anticipation, I think, of learning and being challenged. So that's a big benefit. But he's put this guide together, and he's got a bunch of questions. And
we had more folks in our life group last night that had their guidebook out, and you can't even see the pages because it's just filled of writing. It was really cool to see.
I loved third service. There was a dad that definitely sent his son back out to the vehicle at the beginning of the sermon to get the book.
Nice.
Because the son came back holding a book.
Nice.
And I was like, yes, go for it.
that's cool.
But yeah, no, it really is. We've given out way more notebooks than I anticipated.
How many of them, you know?
We're just shy of 1,000 right now. We're at like 900 or 950.
Whoa.
Awesome.
Between both campuses. So double what we've ever done before. So yeah, it seems that a lot of people are leaning into it.
That is insane.
Yeah, I keep calling the print shop and saying,
1,000 people got this book, and 2 people watching the podcast.
that means there's people showing up on Sundays, which is a good thing.
Roger and Leah.
Good thing.
Julie,
True. Who else?
I think that's it.
That's a great time to move into.
I think Stefan's mom's watching it.
Yeah.
Totally. She's just hoping Stefan will make an actual appearance.
I actually do have to confess that I work with junior high kids on Sunday night, which
No, you hold the door.
yeah, well, until it's Gaga ball time, because Terry is also serving with middle school kids. Yeah,
He's a beast.
and so I got we were in the Gaga ball pit. He's standing outside of it yesterday, and I got all the junior high kids to start slow chanting Terry. So he's got 30 kids in the Gaga ball pit.
Sweet.
Terry. So he looks at me and he's like, get in here. So he hops in and I throw the ball in the middle and I run after it as soon as it's, you're able to run after it. And he's to my left and he's coming around fast. And I took that ball and I chucked it at him. And he said, "You're supposed to be our pastor." And I was like, "Sucker, get out of here." So he's looking for a new church. So it was a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
It's all loving until it's Gaga ball.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bloody knuckles and everything.
Never played, but go ahead.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. We'll do it one day. Okay, Caleb. So starting with you.
Why him?
Just the one I picked today.
Go for it. You're the co-host. Non-paying position. But
You're the co-host today, but after that,
Levi just got fired. You saw it here, Bert.
you saw it here. Oh,
I do have you lined up twice today, Jeff.
we got questions pre-advanced. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you receive them early this year?
Oh, yeah.
This week? What?
I've had them for a week.
You didn't give them to me. Oh my goodness.
That's not true.
Oh man. Okay, Caleb, you talked a lot about in your sermon how foundations are so important.
That is true.
Did you use all your experience from your past?
I used some. There wasn't enough time to use all my experience.
Yeah.
We only have 30 minutes, and I used 40.
Let me tell you about how to frame up a house.
Well, no. We were talking about only the foundations.
Right. Okay.
How many houses do you think you've built? Or you mostly did remodels, right?
I did both. Well, houses are structured. I built a lot of. I don't know.
In the U.S. or Mexico?
Yes.
A lot. It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about when it comes to this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like completely brand new homes, 10ish plus, but like structures, you're talking shops, pole barns, additions. I don't know.
So
Hundreds.
you know what you're talking about.
Hundreds. He knows what he's talking about.
So tell us more.
In case people don't know that, because he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, you used to. That's what you did.
That is. Yeah.
Baker.
It was a lot less
broke, so
stressful
he's in
than,
ministry
than
now.
today.
A lot less stressful.
Yeah. A lot less stressful. Which is weird because you deal with people on both ends. What do you want to know about foundations?
Well, just why did you start there in your sermon?
I mean, I feel like that's where Paul is walking us through, or walking the church in Corinth through, and us going through. So just brief background. We've talked about this quite a bit before, but Paul, he started the church in Corinth on his second missionary journey. Starts recording that in Acts chapter 18. If you haven't checked that out yet, go check it out. I'm sure all of our 3 listeners have, though. And so he spent 18 months with them there. And so during the 18 months, he laid the foundation. And verse 11, I think that's the big highlight.
Chapter 3.
Of chapter 3. Let me find it real quick because I don't have it perfectly memorized. It says, "For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ." And so this is this theme that he carries from the beginning of Corinthians to the end of Corinthians, and is our foundation as a church, as a body of believers, our foundation as individuals, as Christians, Christ followers. It has to be set on Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone and what he did on the cross. And so I don't know. And as I was reading through that, the first thing that popped in my mind was foundations of anything. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's any kind of structure, if the foundation, if you cut corners, if you didn't dig it deep enough, if you're, nowadays, if you're using concrete, if your concrete mix wasn't up to par, if you lacked on this or lacked on that, if you didn't have the adequate steel that bonds it together, it may look pretty and it may look good, but man, start getting the weight of the structure, it's not going to hold up. Same thing the way they built. We talk about later. First Peter talks about Jesus being the cornerstone, and so in ancient times when they would build with rocks and stone, that cornerstone is what held everything together, and everything was built upon. Where we have this solid structure going through, and it's laying out that same foundation. And the church is no different. If we try to build the foundation of the church on anything other than Jesus Christ and what he did on the cross, and it may look pretty, it may look great, but it's not going to be long lasting through the ages. Mm-hmm. It's going to be here temporarily.
Illustrate that in any way with examples of like when we do that
on the church level.
Mm-hmm. I just threw out some. I had a lot more figured in. I just had to cut material, but I had a lot of stuff about the difference in building on things that are substitutes.
Oh yeah.
Personalities.
Mm-hmm.
You can build a church on a personality. You can build a church on a program. You can build it on psychology. We see that's pretty common. You can, you shall, you will, just rah, 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 whatever. Those things don't last, whatever it is. The personality dies, the program runs its course, the psychology comes up short, because it's not transformational.
And that's exactly what we're seeing here at the beginning of the chapter, and then at the end, it brings it back up. Like the Church of Corinth, they were basing their relationship, their faith, what they did on what it looks like. Who is the one who led them into a relationship with Jesus Christ? So whether it was Paul when it was whether it was Apollos who became their preacher, their pastor, or even at the end it's mentioned Cephas, which is Peter. Mm-hmm. And so they were valuing more that relationship that they had with those individuals, those mere human beings, rather than Jesus Christ. And that's I think you use the example that can be easily done here. Use the example of whether you're following Matt or yourself or Andrew or me or whatever. where we can fall into that same thing. And I think it's our human nature. It's easy to have it because that's tangible. I can
So
grab hold of
I
that too and build
I got
those.
real particular with that. I think because I think the application of that here is very easy to do. Like some people prefer Matt's preaching.
Mm-hmm.
Some people prefer mine. Some people prefer Andrew. Some people prefer you. Why? Well, it's something to do with the relationship that's been
Yep.
built. We don't have the same relationship with each other. The experiences we've walked through in life. If you help somebody through a tragedy,
Oh yeah.
there's an obvious affinity
Yeah.
there. Is that a bad thing? No.
Nope.
But those relationships don't supersede the relationship that's the foundation. That's
Correct.
Christ.
I think you remember Libby, she used to always come up to me and say, "Man, I hate when you preach," and she probably meant it. She said when I first came here, she said when Jeff would get up and preach, she's like, I didn't want to listen to anybody else, and then you and Andrew would preach, and I'd hate it. And she's like, but here's what happened to me. She said, the Spirit began to convict me, and it stopped becoming about who was presenting the
Yeah.
word, and it became about the word.
That's maturity.
And exactly right. But that's spot on. She grew in her maturity and her faith, and it was about the words of Scripture, not about the person using them.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're talking about here.
Yeah. And I really like how in this section of First Corinthians, like Paul is reminding them, and he's kind of even like doing it in a way to humble them, to bring them back down a notch and say, like, yeah, you guys think you have it figured out, but remember, like, this is the foundation that was laid. And I think, Jeff, you really captured this well in your message of,
He means Caleb didn't.
well, you both approached it the same, but you approached different questions. But like, they had the foundation that Paul had laid, and they thought they had built upon it with, great Spirit-filled gifts and I don't know, things that they were doing well. And he kind of humbles them in this section, saying like, no, let's go back to that. This is the foundation that was laid.
It's an interesting point because he includes himself in the who's Paul, who's Apollos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's not raising himself up above
No.
Apollos in any way. But he says, I am the architecton, that I am the master
the
builder.
expert builder. Yep.
The expert builder. What does that mean?
You're the one who preached on it.
He's been waiting to use that.
Now listen, you're the co-host, I'm the host. I just asked you a question.
That means you got to answer.
I think that's a great word that you should do a word study on.
Architecton, I did, which is obviously architect, master, the builder, not just the drawing the picture, but the designer is also the lead site manager kind of thing, construction. And so I find that's kind of an interesting thing that Paul's doing here. He's not elevating himself above Christ or even Apollos or any other man, but yet he's saying the role he played was that he was the foundational layer.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because he's humble, but yet he's speaking with clarity here. That's the role he was called to play. Not that he's more important than anybody else, but he was the one that got it started.
Well, I think the section right before that, that's when they're talking about the metaphor is the church is a building. The section right before that, the church is a field. And so in there, he actually says, Apollos and myself, Paul, we are nothing. Like we amount to nothing whatsoever, but God's the one who assigns the tasks. I was assigned the task to plant the seed. You were assigned the task to water, to cultivate, but God's the one that allows it to grow. And even in that aspect, the role that God has given him is that expert builder, that metaphor using that, but it's God who's ordaining all that.
Right.
I think the very beginning of this, and I don't know if we're passing, but to me, I'm trying to relate myself as the church in Corinth, if that's possible. And so it's not like, and I think we both mentioned this, it's not like the church that we view now. You're gathering this big corporate room and you're there together. It was really more like a house church, a life group. There was at least 3 at this point that we know of. There may have been more. 3 life groups, 3 house churches.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you get that from?
I get that from the house of Chloe. We address Chloe in Romans chapter 16. He's in Corinth and he talks about the house of Gaius. And then there was one more,
Titus Justice.
Yes, Titus Justice. And so that for sure we know there was 3 at the time of this writing. There could have been more.
That's good. Because I actually clearly said I'm not sure how many people there were.
Okay. I actually think there could have been more, but we know there's at least 3. Now, how many is in each one of those?
You don't know.
We don't
Right.
know.
But the houses weren't very big.
No, yeah.
Man, they were tiny.
Like to me, I think it looks like those of you that are involved in life groups, to me, it looks a lot like
Totally.
how we gather in life groups. And so that's why I think when you get this letter, this is like, can you imagine you're in a life group setting.
Who's reading it?
And, Paul sends you this letter. So the house of the life group, they got it in there and they grabbed the letters and said, hey, brothers and sisters, I could address you, as spiritual, but you're worldly. You're not doing this. You're infants, you're babies. And then he gets onto this, I think it's verse 3 where it starts out. He's like, you are still worldly. You are not ready yet.
You're acting
And
like
so like,
mere humans.
yes, you're expecting like, oh, Paul's going to send us this encouraging word. He's like, you guys suck at what you're doing. What did I leave? This is not what I left. You should have been on this right now, and you can't even get the foundational truths.
But they're still brothers and sisters.
They are, and he does it in love. And I was just thinking, like, man, if that was, if we're sitting in life, I'm thinking of Clay County. If I'm sitting in a life group, and I get this text from Jeff Michael addressed to Caleb's life group or the life group at the Baker House or whatever
Brothers
it looks
and
like.
sisters.
And I'm like, oh, I am not reading this tonight.
Well, never mind. I'm not an apostle.
Well, yeah. But I mean, it would have been like, that would have been, man, like gut wrenching.
Tough stuff.
It would have been. And the whole book, the whole letter
Gonna
is
get
like
worse.
that.
Wait till next week.
Yeah, for sure.
But there is definitely this tension where while he is like calling them out and, calling them to, repent from their actions and, turn to God and a spirit-filled life, like he is also still affirming their identity and purpose in
sure.
Christ. We talked about that last week with like they are still called, saints in God. They still are the church that God is building up. And so with that, there were 2 kind of images and metaphors, and I know, Caleb, you already kind of brought them out. Oh, there's 3? Oh, okay, go for it. What, Jeff, Caleb, Matt?
The field,
The field?
a building,
Oh.
the temple.
Okay.
Oh, I just put the temple as a way of saying the building's not just any building. But yeah.
Oh, well, the temple, and it was referring to not just the temple. If you go back to the Greek, I cannot pronounce this word, Greek scholars, Naos, naos. That is the Greek word, but it actually was referring to the inner sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, where he actually dwelt. And so the metaphor is the church is a field. And so some are planted, some are watered. He goes, the church is a building, and so we're going to build upon each other. None of us are building for our own. It's building for God's glory. And I think that's really cool because for 2,000 years we've been doing this, and it continues to grow. And then lastly, which I think actually is probably the most important one, is the church is the temple. And for us, like, we are God's temple. The Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God that dwelled in the inner of inners, the Holy of Holies, he dwells in us.
I know when I do the New Testament class for the DTI program, like this is one of these central concepts that I want people to see is that connection from the Old Testament concept of the temple to how that shifts and is transformed through Jesus. And so it speaks to our identity. It speaks to our purpose.
To me, I don't.
Jeff,
Can I?
what would you like to? Or
Can I go one more?
Elaborate
Just on
more
that,
on
since
that.
we're on it.
Yeah, go for it.
So, to me, this is really cool, and I think this would have, like, mindset wise, I think this would have been mind blowing for the original hearers of the word. So this was written roughly 53, 54 AD, correct? And so Paul is telling Christ followers, "You are the temple." You
Jewish Christ followers.
Jewish Christ followers. You are the temple. The Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, lives in you. Well, in Jerusalem in AD 53, AD 54, the temple is still there. It's still intact. It doesn't get destroyed for 16 more years in AD 70. And so for them to think that concept, because in their whole entire lives, for generations, God's presence was in the temple in Jerusalem. And now he's saying, that's actually not there. It is in us. And I think that concept, even for us that have, I've been taught this my entire life, for us to not physically, for us to really wrap our minds around that and realize, man, God's presence lives in me. Like we don't.
What does that change for us today to have that mindset, to understand our identity, our purpose as the temple?
So everywhere that God was a holy place, not because of the place, but because of the presence.
Mm-hmm.
And so the burning bush with Moses, take off your shoes. This is a holy ground. Why? Not because of the place, but his presence. So then you get the tabernacle. You get Mount Sinai with the 10 Commandments. Every time God manifests himself, he showed up in a particular way. God's everywhere. So just because he's in the burning bush doesn't mean he's only in the burning bush, but he was in the burning bush. Because he shows up somewhere, it becomes a holy place. So that's a significant, you are a royal priesthood, a holy people. He's calling them to be a holy people in chapter 1. You are the dwelling place of God.
Yep.
You're not holy, but his presence makes you holy. And so the challenge, I think he said, keeps going back and forth with this in chapter 3. You're worldly, you need to be spiritual. What is he talking about there? Well, you need to be spirit-led. You need to allow the presence in you to lead because you're a holy people. Stop acting like the world because you're different than the world. The place where you're standing now is different than where you stood before because you are in him. And his presence makes you holy. I think that's the huge, to me, that is, you think you've got Priscilla and Aquila. You've got Crispus, the synagogue.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. The guy, he gets run out of his position as ruler of the synagogue. Sosthenes, same thing, beaten. So at some point he becomes, it seems, a follower of Christ. Paul, who was a Pharisee. So the temple was a significant location. For him to use this illustration is a big deal. We're not just talking about any building, right? Jesus is the foundation of the temple. If you want God's presence in your life, or if you want to enter into God's presence, you've got to come through Jesus. Because and so the temple veil, 20 years ago, was torn top to bottom.
Yep.
Right when he died. What does that mean? We can go straight in. You can go straight in through Jesus. Yep. That's a big deal.
I think part of this analogy too with thinking as the temple, which we are as Christians, is bringing unity to a church that does not have unity. That there's dissension, there's disunity, and so you think about the Jewish mindset again and what the temple represents. So Jeff mentioned it represents the dwelling place, the presence of God. It also was this national symbol of unity that brought the whole nation together, and so that's the same thing as a church, where not as a building or a structure. But that's the one thing that we have in common is unity, is that the Holy Spirit of God lives within us. And you think about Acts chapter 2, when we had the first example of the first century church coming, and it says they had everything in common. Well, the thing that they had everything in common was Jesus Christ and him crucified and the Holy Spirit dwelling in them. And to me, that's what's so exciting, because the church is not about these structures and these buildings that we gather in. It's us as a body of believers together, united.
Here's a cool example. Our Hebrew friend presented a Torah scroll to the Discovery Christian School to be placed in the library. And so he led us through, the students and teachers and everybody who was there, he led us through a ceremony, ritualistic kind of ceremony with prayers and such, about the presentation and the opening of a scroll. And so they've got something to go through, and we did that together with the kids. One of the elements was to have everybody up and turn towards the east. Why? Because that's where the temple's at. Right? That's where the Holy of Holies is. That's where the Ark of the Covenant is placed, where the 10 Commandments were laid, right? So we turn towards the east. Every synagogue you enter throughout the world needs to be oriented so you're facing east to face the temple. This is a big deal when he says you're the temple. You're the focal point in your relationship with God. It's in you. He's in you. You're holy.
Yeah. I really like that, for a good Jewish family, did they have to go to Jerusalem to the temple 3 times a year? Or they were supposed to?
If possible.
3 festivals, if possible.
Passover, Pentecost, and
Tabernacles.
Tabernacles.
But then now.
I'll go see if we're right on that pretty soon.
I know Passover and Pentecost for sure.
Because he watches this too.
But then now, like,
Let us know, Randy. Did
what
you
Jesus
get a text yet?
Blip.
what Jesus does through his ministry and through Acts 2 at the Pentecost, sending out the disciples, is now he is sending his body, his followers out to be the temple. And so we no longer have to go to Jerusalem to worship, but we get to take God's spirit, God's presence with us wherever we go. And so wherever we are, then you have little pockets of God's temple in the world. And one thing that I just wrote down while you guys were talking was that I hadn't thought about before is before Paul can address the issues, like he's already addressing some of the issues, but before he can really get into, the areas where they're really struggling, he's reminding them of their identity, their purpose, and what transforms them is God's presence in their lives. And so that's for me, that's one of the really big points that like we have to see here at the beginning of 1 Corinthians is like we together, it is a collective sense because it's not just you individually, but it's also us together. Yep. We are that temple. And so, it's just a huge, huge point to wrap our identity around individually and communally.
Did you run in church?
What?
I grew up running in church, so
as a kid, I was not allowed to run in the house of the Lord.
I know.
As a kid, I was not allowed to wear a hat in the house of the Lord. And
couldn't wear hats.
Well, I think that's still biblical.
There was a certain.
I couldn't wear shorts on Sunday.
Oh no.
My daughter actually the other day was wearing a hat, and we were going to church on Thursday night, and she came upstairs from her room wearing that thing, and I'm like, oh man, but it was just like right on, and she didn't wear it, but I'm like, just on her own, but I'm like, oh man, it's just funny how those things stick in your head.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's a whole side topic we don't need to cover today. But go ahead.
So kind of moving into, I don't know, probably more my last kind of main area that I want to focus on. To me, at least what I wrote down, kind of for you, Jeff, for your sermon, your main kind of question was, what are you building your life with? We all are building upon that foundation in our life. And so like, what are you building your life with? And Caleb, you kind of focused similar, but you changed it up. It said, how will you continue to build upon the foundation of Christ crucified? And so with those two concepts, to kind of turn it back over to all three of you guys, of what, how does that apply for us today in terms of how we should live, how we should structure, how we should see our everyday lives as the temple of God? And so like what should change? What should we focus on so that way we can build upon that foundation? Matt, you're first.
Well, the first thing I thought
You haven't
about
talked enough yet.
the first thing I thought about when you asked that question was what you did in the message, Jeff. I didn't. I got to watch or read the notes version of yours, but you were specifically took a significant amount of time talking about the end, having the end in mind.
The day will reveal the quality of each man's work.
Right. So that's the first thing that came to my mind.
You know why I did that?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't figure out why he had this big long list of materials.
Hmm.
I see some things about them that are interesting to me, but I don't understand the fullness of that because we have gold, silver, costly stone, wood, or straw. I didn't leave one out, I don't think. And so I jokingly said it reminds me of the three little pigs, but it kind of does. Mm-hmm. What are you going to build with? But here's the thing, Paul.
Wood.
Wood. Yeah, wood.
Wood, hay, straw.
Wood, hay, straw. So.
Sorry. You left one out.
It's important that we be correct. So he doesn't specifically say those are going to be destroyed, but they're going to be going through the fire.
Yep.
So will they last? So as you work through the list, gold, well, it depends on how hot the fire is, because it can melt. But it does. You do refine gold with fire. So I'm trying to sort that out. Silver, same thing. Costly stones, it seems like that's the middle of the list. They actually probably would stand the best in the fire. The wood, the hay, the straw, of course, those burn. So they're reducing as you go through the list. They kind of reduce in value. They increase in flammability, except for that costly stone one stuck in the middle. Wood, gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, straw. 6. I don't know. But the element of that is they're all going to be tested. And so maybe it's just a call to evaluate what you're building life with. You know, I don't want to equate, well, I'm building with gold, I'm building with silver, but am I building with things that last, that are going to stand the test of time? Do they make a difference eternally or not? What am I building my life on? The foundation is Jesus, but what's the material that I'm using?
This is how I took that, because it's still in the context of we're building up in the church, and even the context of the first 4 chapters, it's within the local church. And so I took it as, and correct me if I'm not right in my thinking here, it's how we serve in the church and why we serve in the church. And so those efforts, both of those matter. How we serve within the church and our motives to why we serve in the church. Basically, especially at the beginning of this, it wasn't about building up yourself or building it up, but it's about the foundation that Jesus Christ has already laid. So then the how and the why when we serve in the church, are we being intentional and putting our very best efforts forward, or are we just doing the bare minimum? And I think that's where you get the degrees, at least as a builder, where I see the degrees, because he started at the most expensive, went down to the least. And then it's talking about your thing's going to be tested there, and it's going to be revealed, and it's talking about this judgment, but it's not talking about judgment of salvation. But I think he is talking about the how and the why you serve within the church. And that's going to, and it even says it's going to be tested in fire, and some will be approved, but some you will be saved, but it's like one escaping through the flames. And I think that's
By the hair of my chinny chin
yeah.
chin.
Yeah. I think that's pretty key, is what is our motivations? Why are serving? But I think goes down to intentionality. Based off those same questions, I used it as an opportunity just to remind those who have been part of Christ Church for a while, or maybe inform those who are brand new to us, how we as a church function and how we strive to be intentional with what we do. And that comes through those, as Christ followers, through those rhythms. I'm going to say the rhythms that aren't necessarily natural, but as we continue to mature in our faith, as we continue to be more Christ-like, they become natural. And that's the rhythms we use. We use all the time, whether you use the form of up in and out, or pursue God, connect disciples, or unleash impact. And I kind of walk through just practices that we do at Christ Church, practices that we do as we continue our walk in our journey to Jesus Christ, of pursuing God individually, pursuing God corporately, of how we connect disciples, connect ourselves with the Word, but connect ourselves with other community, connect ourselves within life groups, connect that way. And then also, man, that unleashing of impact. So then you're taking, as I grow in my faith with the Word, with God, as I grow in my faith with other communities, with other believers, and then how we take that gospel message and we extend that beyond who we are. So
beyond the not understanding all the elements of the construction part, I was just drawn to the day.
yeah,
And you can't talk about everything, but that just rose to the top for me. This capital D day, the day, no more days. Right? I mean, like, if this is the day, did I put forth my best? Because someday it is the day.
yeah.
And someday you don't know when that day is coming.
Like the day. Somebody's going to experience the last day alive.
Right.
You know, most people are going to die.
Yep.
And that's their last day. But some of us, maybe us, somebody is going to experience the day while alive. He's going to come back. And wow. The refining fire, you know. So that's intense. That's what just caught my attention so much. So it's like, we're not we got to take this serious. It's eternity at stake here.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts?
I got a question. I've been looking at Caleb's Bible through the whole podcast, trying to figure out, some's yellow, some's orange, some's blue. You have a highlighting methodology there?
You don't?
No, I don't highlight my Bible.
You don't?
I highlight my Bible.
So what?
Go ahead.
Why do you not?
Because it bleeds through.
Okay, I didn't know.
I mark it.
Mark it.
Wait, what's the highlighting do?
Well, to me, it's breaking it into categories. And so for me, this first.
Would you tilt it up so the vast listening audience can see?
It's upside down.
It
They
doesn't
can't read it.
I thought they could read it anyway.
The first section here, and it doesn't necessarily it's whatever colors I have with me at the
Sure,
time,
but
because I never have the same colors.
Oh, you don't
And
have the same color?
I don't. I wish. Well, because I'm not always at the same place when I'm doing it, and so it's like, oh, okay, I use those ones. So for me, you probably, you're more meticulous in this. You probably do.
I
So
have the same
for me,
colors
I'm blocking out sections, and so each section, and so I'm gonna. These are the easiest right here. So each section. So this first section, that is the field, and then to me, this part here, this is more application because talking about who we are. We're talking about we are the workers, we are God's field, we are God's building, and then it goes to the next metaphor, which is the building. So then I did the blue.
You're grouping light things by color.
And then I went back. This is the building application section, and then we went. This is the temple. And so when I want to be able to read, I want to decipher. This is where this section ends. This section begins. Even though they're all joined together, that helps me in my process as I process through it. So I wish I probably would have.
That's what I do when I
correct colors.
copy. I always go to BibleGateway.com, copy off
And
the
do it all
scripture,
together,
and I
yeah.
just mark it all up.
Yeah.
Circle.
I started doing that because of you, just because it's you
It
can
helps.
it helps, and you can write on it, and then if you're like,
Just throw it away.
throw it away.
So I'll be on. Like when I was in DTI back in 2018, you got me on that, and I started doing that. Here's the reason I don't do that anymore, though, because all that information was on a piece of paper that I don't know what happened to those pieces of paper.
It's up here now.
Well, not all of it. So then when I went back to do it, then I'm like, man, I know I've done this, but how did I do that before? So now I actually try to do it in this particular, we probably all do it multiple Bibles, but I try to do it in this Bible. That way, when I go to study, that back note is back in that
The
particular
significant notes that rise to the top is of lasting value. I put
Yeah.
here. What's your color stand for?
They're themes and then repetitive words. So what I'll do is I'll take especially if I'm preparing to preach, I will print it out on paper, giant font, mark it all up, and then notes that I want to keep, I will then transfer back onto a specific Bible. But yeah, for me, like yellow is just like particular words that come up in the text. I'll use a different color for like who the audience is if it's revealed. So I actually have like 15 or just
Circle it if
15,
it's a
16
key word. I underline it once, or I double underline it if it's a transitional thing. If there's a pattern to it, but yeah.
15 different colors.
I got like a whole thing.
Green's always my application,
Yeah.
but otherwise it's blue is good and purple is really good.
Royal color.
What about that letters in red? Do you have red?
Oh, the red letters.
I don't highlight in red.
I have
no.
quite a bit
guess
of
I
red.
don't
It's
have-
over, it's
I
over
guess I
more in the Gospels. There's a lot of red.
I don't
Yeah,
have red.
the Bible does it for you.
Yeah, dude, there you go.
This one doesn't.
Thanks, Jesus.
Okay.
You got red right there.
Is it? I
Yeah,
can't
the
see
red
it.
letters.
I can't read it.
You
Well, it sure is. Yeah, just the words of Jesus.
Yeah.
But they're already highlighted.
I'm
Okay.
hoping-
Well, now that we've enlightened folks on 1 Corinthians chapter 3, next week we'd talk about
5 and 6.
5 and 6.
We jump in.
I'm hoping I have COVID.
It's not just deep water. It's rapidly moving deep water with sharks and jellyfish.
I just want everyone to remember that many of you have made the comment that you're grateful that we teach the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want you to remember that
I'm gonna make
Thursday and Sunday.
I'm gonna make the I'm gonna guess that this Sunday and next Monday on the podcast when we film Tuesday when you get it, at some points, multiple points, Matt's face is gonna be bright red.
Nah.
Nah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
We'll see.
Mostly because I don't really care what people think anymore.
Here's a final note.
Now it's my goal to make it on the podcast where Matt's face gets bright red.
A final note is you'll know.
Bring it on.
I select people for the calendar.
Yeah,
I took the Patsy's this time.
no kidding.
Gave him the fun stuff.
Somebody asked me yesterday, we're walking around, they're like, hey, you preaching today? I said, nope. I said, I'm preaching next week. I said, Jeff took the 2 easy ones.
Refined by fire. Hey, thanks for joining us.